YouTube, Philly J with Dirty Dimension Gaming, coming at you with my Infernoble Flame Swordsman deck profile. So this deck was really good, and then Barone got banned and it became less good, but it's still really fun to play. You don't really get locked. I think at some point you might get fire locked, but you're playing exclusively fire monsters, so that's fine. Yeah, let's just dive in. I'm going to start with 3 copies of Fighting Flame Swordsman. This is your best normal summon in the deck by far. So if this guy is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 spell trap that mentions Flame Swordsman from your deck to your hand. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send 1 Flame Swordsman or 1 monster that mentions it from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard, except for itself. It can only use each effect once per turn. So this is crazy because it searches stuff and it recurs stuff. Because the card that you play alongside it is your Salamandra, the Flying Flame Dragon. And this card, if it's in your hand or graveyard, you can equip it to a warrior monster that you control. And if it's connected to a Flame Swordsman monster, that monster gains 700 attack. And when this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add a Salamandra spell trap from your deck to your hand. So again, it's a lot of like searchability and doing stuff, and because of the way that this deck works, it just needs like fire warriors, and you're only playing fire warriors in the main deck except for Salamandra, but you're never going to summon Salamandra anyways. So we're going to be playing a lot more Infernobles in the main deck than we are the Flame Swordsman stuff. That's all the Flame Swordsman monsters that we're playing. So for the Infernobles, we're going to play 3 copies of Renowned, 1 Turpin, 1 Oliver, 1 Ogier, 1 Magus, 1 Ricardetto, and 1 Roland. Again, a lot of one-ofs, but they're all part of the long-term game, but the ones you're going to really abuse are going to be these ones. So for Renowned, if you control a fire warrior monster, you can special summon it from your hand as a tuner, which is insane to begin with. And then when it's special summoned, you can target a fire warrior or an equipped spell in your graveyard or that is banished and add it to your hand. Really good synergy with the normal summon of your Flame Swordsman because it gets you into your combos right away. Turpin is going to be the one you use most in your first turn combo because it is a really easy body to summon. So for Turpin, while it is equipped as an equipped card, the monster it is equipped to is treated as a tuner. And then once per turn, if you control a monster equipped with an equipped spell, you can special summon Turpin from your hand or graveyard, but if you summon it from your graveyard, it's banished when it leaves the field. Infernoble Knight Oliver. Well, this card is an equipped card. The opponent cannot target the equipped monster with card effects, so they all do something when they're equipped to something else except for Renowned. You can only use the following effects of Infernoble Knight Oliver once per turn. You can send 1 fire warrior monster or 1 equipped spell from your hand or face up field to the graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand as a level 1 monster. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can target a warrior monster you control, equip this card to that monster that you control. So got a lot of equipping and effects from the equipping, and then a lot of your synchro and link plays will involve equipped monsters as equipped spells. Ogier. Well, this card is an equipped monster. That monster cannot be destroyed by card effects. You only use the following effects once per turn. If this card is normal or special summon, you can send 1 Noble Arms card or 1 Fire Warrior monster, except for itself, from your deck to the graveyard. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can target a warrior you control and equip itself to that monster. Magus. Again, if it's an equipped spell, it will give the monster an additional effect, and this one says that monster can't be destroyed by battle. So with just these 3 cards, your monster can't be targeted, can't be destroyed by card effects, and can't be destroyed by battle. You can only use the following effects once per turn. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can shuffle into the deck 3 of your other Fire Warrior monsters or Noble Arms card that are banished or in your graveyard, and then draw 1 card. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target a warrior you control and equip it from the graveyard. Ricardetto is another one of our really useful ones in your combos. So you can banish it from your hand or graveyard to special summon 1 level 4 or lower Fire Warrior monster from your hand as a tuner. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can target 1 level 4 or lower Fire Warrior monster in your graveyard except for itself and special summon it. And then that will lock you into warrior monsters, which is, again, is fine because I think we're only playing warriors except for 1 card in the extra deck. And finally, Roland. As a quick effect, you can target a face-up monster you control and equip this card from your hand to that target. And this Roland will give that monster as an equipped spell. It will increase its attack by 500. During the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can add 1 Fire Warrior monster except for itself, or 1 equipped spell from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. Again, a lot of text, and we went through it really fast, so just for a simple breakdown, if you control a Fire Warrior, you can special from your hand and then add something back from your graveyard. You can special itself from the graveyard or banish itself to summon something else from the graveyard. Prevents targeting while equipped and can equip itself from the graveyard. Prevents destruction through card effects and can equip itself from the graveyard. Prevents destruction through battle and can equip itself from the graveyard. Banish itself, summon a Fire Warrior as a tuner, and then you are locked into warriors. And finally, can equip itself from the graveyard, and the equipped monster gains 500. So a lot of one-ofs, just because you don't really want to see them, but you do want them for your combos. And then for the last monster in the deck as far as combos go, we're going to play 2 copies of Immortal Phoenix Gearfried. So you can banish 1 equipped spell from your field or graveyard to special summon Phoenix Gearfried from your hand. And at the start of the damage step, if this card attacks, you can equip 1 monster on the field to this card. That includes your opponent's side of the field. And when a monster effect is activated, you can send a face-up equipped spell to the graveyard to negate the effect and destroy it. So, and each effect is only once per turn. Now, for the spells, we're going to play 3 copies of Fighting Flame Sword. You can activate 1 of the 3 effects on this card per turn. You can either add 1 card from your deck to your hand that mentions Flame Swordsman except for itself, or you can, when an attack is declared involving a Fire Warrior monster, you can target 1 card on the field and destroy it. Or when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a Flame Swordsman or a monster that mentions it, you can negate that effect. You can only activate 1 Fighting Flame Sword per turn. So again, really good for starting off your combos, or really good for interruption on your opponent's turn. Next, this is kind of a flex spot in the deck, but I really like it. You're going to play 3 copies of Fusion Armament. You can reveal 1 fusion monster in your extra deck, and then summon 1 monster of the fusion materials from either your extra deck or your deck. Sorry, from the extra deck or your graveyard, but it cannot attack, and its effects, if any, are negated. You can only activate 1 fusion armament per turn. So again, a really good way to get out your Flame Swordsman really easily to facilitate some of your combos. Then we're going to play 2 copies of Flame Swords Realm. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when you normal summon a fire warrior monster. And once per turn, you can send one monster from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard and special summon one flame swordsman from your extra deck. It is just treated as a fusion summon. And then once per turn, when a monster declares an attack, you can target one warrior monster you control. Until the end of this turn, that monster will gain 1,000 attack, and all other monsters you currently control will lose 1,000 attack. Sorry, that's backwards. One monster will lose 1,000 and everything else will gain 1,000. Then we're going to play 2 copies of Salamandra Fusion. Equip only to a fire warrior monster and it gains 700 attack. If the equipped monster will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy this card instead. And while this card is equipped to a fusion monster you control, you can send this card and the equipped monster to the graveyard. And if you do special summon one flame swordsman or one fusion monster that mentions it from your extra deck, and that is treated as a fusion summon, and you can only use that effect of Salamander Fusion once per turn. So a really cool way to kind of cheat out your big Flame Swordsman plays through the effect of an equip spell, which this deck thrives off of. And that's it for the Flame Swordsman spells. For the Infernoble stuff, we're going to play 3 copies of Noble Arms Museum. Now, you do not have to play 3 copies, but it's a really, really good idea. Especially because somehow when they made this card, somebody at Konami forgot to put once per turn on this card. So, all Fire Warrior monsters you control gain 500 attack. Once per turn, you can pay 1,200 life points, add 1 Noble Arms card from your deck to your hand, except for itself. Once per turn, so this is a soft once per turn. If the previous effect was applied this turn, you can target 1 Noble Knight monster card in your spell and trap zone, special summon it, and if you activated this effect while you did not control Infernoble Knight Emperor Charles, it locks you into warrior monsters for the rest of the turn. Again, that's fine because you are only summoning warrior monsters on your turn. So the only setback is that one of the effects is a soft once per turn, which is fine. We're going to play 1 copy of Infernoble Arms Durandal and 1 copy of Joyeuse. Durandal, while this card is equipped to a monster, you can add 1 level 5 or lower fire warrior monster from your deck to your hand, and then destroy this card. And if this card is sent to the graveyard because the equipped monster is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 level 5 or lower fire warrior monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Also, it will lock you into warrior monsters for the rest of the turn. You can only use each effect of Durandal once per turn, and only once that turn, which means you have to pick which effect you want to use. And it's important to know that you can equip Durandal as many times as you want to a monster, but the effect to search is only once per turn. And Joyeuse, while this card is equipped to a monster, you can target 1 fire warrior monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand, then destroy this card. If this card is sent to the graveyard because the equipped monster isn't sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 fire warrior monster from your hand, and again you can only use 1 of the effects that turn, so you have to kind of pick and choose which effect you want to use for both of them. And then for generic spells, we're just playing the 1 Reinforcement of the Army and the 1 Called by the Grave. For the 1 archetype trap we're playing 1 copy of Salamandra with Chain. Target 1 fire monster on the field, equip this card to it as an equipped card, that gives it 700 attack. Then you can change 1 effect monster on the field to face down defense position. You can banish this card from your graveyard. Fusion summon one fire, warrior, or dragon fusion monster from your extra deck by shuffling the materials from either hand, field, or graveyard into the deck, but destroy it during the end phase. You only use this effect once per turn. So again, they kind of forgot to put once per turn because you can activate this trap if you want to play multiples. You can activate more than one per turn, but the fusion summon effect is only a once per turn. And then finally, for hand traps, we're just going to play 3 copies of Ash and 3 copies of Imperm. Again, you utilize these per your local or whatever experience you're trying to use the deck in. For the extra deck, we're going to play 2 copies of Ultimate Flame Swordsman. So it needs Flame Swordsman and Fighting Flame Dragon, but if we're being honest, we're going to cheat this guy out a lot. You can target 1 monster your opponent controls, destroy it, and if you do, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. This is a quick effect if this card is equipped with an equipped card. At the end of the damage step, if this card battles, you can double this card's attack until the end of this turn, but if you do, destroy it during the end phase of this turn. Only use each effect once per turn. So again, really cool way to make a huge guy and then deal with your opponent's stuff, and then you can utilize something like your Flame Swords realm. So when this guy doubles his attack, you can lower his attack by 1,000 and then boost all your other guys by 1,000. We're going to play 1 copy of the original Flame Swordsman. No effect. And then 1 copy of Fighting Flame Dragon. Now this is 100% a flex spot. If you wanted to play something like SP Little Knight or an IP Masquerena or whatever, this would be your spot to use. This was Barone before she got banned. And again, that's it for your Flame Swordsman stuff in the extra deck. It's really small package, but really high impact. But we'll go through this card just because we can. So it needs a Dragon monster and a Fire Warrior monster. Except during the damage step, as a quick effect, you can target 1 Warrior Fusion monster you control. Equip this card from your field or graveyard to that monster you control as an equipped spell. You can only use each effect of Fighting Flame Dragon once per turn. While this card is equipped to a Flame Swordsman or a monster that mentions it, the equipped monster gains 700 attack and can make a second attack during each battle phase. So you're not going to summon it very often, but you can use ways to get it in the graveyard and then equip it from the graveyard to your Ultimate Flame Swordsman to let him attack twice and double his attack. So a 5,600 guy attacking twice is pretty huge. And for the Infernoble stuff, you're going to play 2 copies of Infernoble Knight Emperor Charles. It's a tuner and a non-tuner. If an equipped card becomes equipped to a monster on the field, even during the damage step, you can destroy 1 card on the field. During the end phase, you can equip 1 equip spell from your hand or graveyard to this card. Then you can equip 1 Fire Warrior monster from your deck to this card as an equipped spell that gives it 500 attack. You can only use each effect once per turn. So in your combos, you're going to be summoning 1 for sure, possibly 2 depending on what you're going for. You're going to play 2 copies of Infernoble Knight Captain Roland. Again, needs a tuner and 1 non-tuner. If this card is synchro summoned, you can activate this effect. During the end phase of this turn, send 1 equip spell from your deck to the graveyard, then add 1 warrior monster from your deck to your hand. During the main phase, if this card is in your graveyard as a quick effect, you can target 1 warrior monster you control, equip this card to that monster as an equip spell that gives it 500 attack, and you can only use each effect once per turn. So the reason we're playing 2 Roland is because we're playing 2 copies of Angelica, Princess of Noble Arms. And these 2 work really well in tandem with each other. So again, 1 tuner, 1 non-tuner. If this card is special summon, you can add one Horn of the Oliphant or one card that mentions Infernoble Knight Emperor Charles from your deck to your hand. When a card or effect is activated that targets this card on the field, or when this card is targeted for an attack, quick effect, you can send one Fire Warrior monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, banish this card until the end phase. Then, you can special summon one Roland monster from your deck or extra deck. You can only use each effect once per turn. So a really easy combo for this deck is to target Angelica with an equip spell, use her effect, send Turpin to grave, banish her, send Roland, summon back Turpin, synchro into Emperor Charles, get an equip spell on him, and then link him off into your Link Charles. Then we're going to play one Infernoble Knight Captain Oliver, one tuner, one non-tuner monsters. When this card declares an attack while equipped, you can target one face-up card on the field to destroy it. During your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can target one warrior monster you control, special summon this card from your graveyard as a tuner, and if you do, equip that monster you control to this card as an equipped card that gives it 500 attack. You can only use this effect once per turn. Again, lots of equipping from the graveyard, moving things around to beef up your guys, inflict more damage while continually putting out a more offensive threat. Then we're going to play 2 copies of Emperor Charles the Great. This is your boss monster for the deck. This is the only 3000 attack Link 1 in the game. And the reason it has 3000 attack is because it needs one level 9 Infernoble Knight Emperor Charles equipped with an equipped card as its Link material. So it has to be this guy, and he has to be equipped, and you can summon this guy. So why is the summoning condition so extreme? Because this card is insane. If this card is Link summoned, you can target one Infernoble Knight Emperor Charles in your graveyard. This card's name becomes that target's name, and it gains that target's original effects. Then equip that target to this card as an equipped spell that gives it 500 attack. Once per turn, when a spell, trap card, or effect is activated, quick effect, you can send one equipped spell from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So why is this so specific, and why is it so good? Just a really quick combo tutorial here. If you've got Durandal equipped to Emperor Charles, you can link him off into Charles the Great, use his effect to bring back Emperor Charles, and then use your Infernoble Arms Museum to bring him up. It's an absurd combo that just gives you more interruption and more offensive power, and they're both now 3,500 attack. And then for the final few cards in the extra deck, you're going to play one Ferocious Flame Swordsman and one Hida the Firecharmer Ablaze. So again, these are pretty much flex spots. You know, whatever you want to put in, you can put in. I like the Ferocious Flame Swordsman because it can help you late game. So it needs 2 monsters with different names. All warrior monsters on the field gain 500 attack. If this Link summon card is destroyed by battle or by an opponent's card effect while it is in its owner's monster zone, you can target one non-Link warrior monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use each effect once per turn. Again, very useful effect because it can help you recycle so many of your synchros or your fusions or whatever you need to recycle to help you with your combos. And then Hida just needs 2 monsters, including a fire monster, and when it's summoned, it can summon fire from your opponent's graveyard, and then when it's destroyed, it can search out a fire monster from your deck, with less than 1500 defense. So it's not like the most useful card in the deck, but it's still very useful, and it helps you facilitate some of your combos, especially if you wanted to play like one of a bigger link, like an access code or something like that, like a Appaloosa. You know, as long as you don't get fire locked or warrior locked, you should be fine. But with that being said, that's it for the deck profile. I know it was a little bit rough getting through that. It's the first combo or first deck profile I've done in a couple weeks. I did just start a new job, so forgive me for my tardiness and forgive my sloppiness through the deck profile. The combo video is coming out later on this week, and starting next week, we're going to do a couple weeks, probably all of June, of just for fun casual play decks that I have just been wanting to showcase, but should not be considered a deck to utilize in a YCS or a winning a big tournament kind of a sense. They're just going to be for fun decks to play. With that being said, make sure to like and subscribe. Let us know what kind of decks you want to see in the future, and we'll see you next time.